So, WFBL. Let's pretend you are part of the WFBL. What would you want me to do for you as the commissioner of this league? Well, I'll tell you. I'm going to give you a couple suggestions of who to watch in the WFBL. So, Major League Baseball is now starting their spring training, which means you're getting a look at some of the guys that are coming up, some of the guys that are going to be there, and how much they're going to mesh. The hardest position to fill almost every league is the catcher position. Of course, some people right now are saying that it's going to be that the correct answer is going to be the pitchers, but let's be honest, guys. You want to get if you could get a stud catcher, you want that stud catcher. I am going to provide you with the very basic information of which ones you're trying to catch. Which catchers are you trying to get on your league to get that extra boost? That is probably the most unimportant yet most important position to have filled. If you could get a catcher in there that's going to play more than 3-4 games a week, then you are in elite company. Those extra at bats are usually the difference between a winning team and a not so winning team when you're dealing with fantasy baseball. So I am going to give you guys my picks for fantasy baseball league catchers. Number one, obviously, just got traded to the Phillies. Just left the Miami Marlins. You're looking at JT Realmuto. Is now with the Phillies. He's batting .277 last year, 21 home runs last year. Obviously was probably the best player on the Marlins team. Marlins team is notoriously often bad. They usually have a couple superstars that they can't keep because they're not really always looking like they're committed to winning. Realmuto just left that situation. Lucky for him, got traded to a team like the Phillies who have championship aspirations. When you watch other teams and other leagues win in your city, it's just a matter of time before that city starts to take it a lot more serious as well. If you are a believer of that, then you're going to want to take JT Realmuto as one of your first catchers or your first catcher. If you can do that, then you are in good company. Why? Because he's surrounded by talent. And the secret to having a good catcher on your team is that that player is surrounded by talent. It makes them play more. It gives them more at-bats. It gives them more opportunities for runs and RBIs. Realmuto's surrounded by Ryan Hoskins, who's just come into his own last couple years, and I think this is going to be the year of his best season, especially now that he has a player like Realmuto who is going to protect him in the lineup. Gene Segura just got there from the Mariners. He's also going to hit 200. He's going to have 200 hits this year. Miguel Franco is the third baseman. He's been there for a couple years, and he's going to have a pretty increased role on a team that's actually playing for a championship as well. Ryan Hoskins, their first baseman, hit, I believe, 27 home runs, and he just got called up to full-time playing last year. He's going to have a guy like Realmuto, who is usually on the top of a Mariners order. He should be dropping down to, I believe, second or third, which means that he's going to get a lot more hits, a lot of walks as well. That's what you're looking for when you're trying to win a fantasy baseball league. Those are some of the more important stats you're going to want to look for. You want to look at bats. You want to see how many runs he's going to get you, and you want to see how many RBIs he could get for you as well. If he's a 2-3 guy, then that's where most of the 100 guys are. The guys that the big boys that hit 40 home runs and really shape your team up. I don't want to give away too much because I want to win. Also, if you cannot get hold of JT Realmuto, then the second person you're going to want to look at is Gary Sanchez from the New York Yankees. Gary Sanchez just came off of a couple surgeries last year, a groin injury last year, so his numbers don't look like somebody who you'll be looking up very quickly in the lineup. That being said, that's why you could probably steal him in maybe a fourth or fifth round. Um, he's 30 home runs, 250 average. Can't really ask for better than that these days. A lot of guys that hit a lot of home runs tend to have lower averages. 250 is about the minimum that I like to accept on my teams personally. I don't really want anyone that has less than a 250 average unless they're hitting 40, 50 home runs. Then I'll sacrifice for that guy. He's hitting 30 home runs a year. I'm guessing he's probably going to bump that up to about 35 or 40. The reason why I would take him above anything else is because of the support that he has. He has a lot of players. There's going to be a lot of Yankee runs made this year. Aaron Judge, they've Stanton, they have Didi Gregorius, they have DJ LeMahieu. The team's stacked. They're going to score a lot of runs. It's going to be a bad year for everyone in the American League when the Yankees come into your town because they are going to smash a lot of home runs. Get Gary Sanchez on your team if you can, and try to get as many Yankees you can get on your team, the better. That team is stacked, and they are going to power through the American League this year. My personal prediction. Obviously, Gary Sanchez is an AL pick. If you're looking in the National League, you're still looking at two more elite catchers in this league. Buster Posey is one of them. He is a career 306 hitter. Last year he had an off year, I believe. I think his numbers are going to go back up. He hit 285 last year. He didn't hit a lot of home runs, but if you're getting that from your catcher, take it because there's not a lot of them out there. Wilson Contreras from the Chicago Cubs is also going to be out there. He's also about a 250 hitter, and he plays every game, which is what you're going to want. Buster Posey is surrounded by a lot of young guys this year, so his numbers might not be as what I think Wilson Contreras is going to be. He's surrounded by talent. He has Chris Bryant there. He has Ian Happ, Anthony Rizzo. It's going to be a really, really good offensive year for the Cubs. So I would go for a Contreras. Buster Posey should still be able to put up numbers that he's been able to put up so far in his career. Pick him up too. If you're looking for a deep sleeper this year, look out for the Colorado Rockies. They have a guy down there by the name of Tom Murphy. He's in AAA right now. If he comes up mid-year and you see a name, remember this name, Tom Murphy, pick him up and hide him on your team. If he does get a lot of run this year, he should hit a lot of home runs. He's down in the AAA. He's with Albuquerque right now. He's hitting 286 out there and 47 home runs, 146 RBIs. That's in AAA, so you know he's ready to go. He just doesn't have the space in the Rockies. So if he does get traded, I expect him to get into the majors this year. Look out for him. That is my deep, dark, secret X factor. Hopefully, I'm right, and he'll come out and he'll make me look like an even more guru-esque man than I am. That's if you're into the Major League Baseball fantasy leagues like I am. And as I said, we're going to be opening up the league just now. Look out for it. Ask me questions. Get into contact with me if you want to join the league. All right? If we have more than 8 people, then it's probably going to be a $25 buy-in so that the winner gets some money. Major League Baseball, guys, it's back. Preseason. It's going on right now. We are looking at 2019 Major League Baseball. I am going to tell you guys what you should pick and who you should pick. First baseman, top 5 first baseman. Here we go. Let me start off by saying this before I actually say here we go. Let me start this. We're doing a baseball league. Join the league. Join Coach WONDERGEDDON on Instagram for access to the league. Let me know that you're in there, and then I'll send you the link, and then you can jump in. We're going to do a free league, and we're going to do a $25 league where the winner gets a pot of the money, a portion of the money. First place, second place, third place usually comes in free. We're going to play that 1, 2, 3. First base or first, second, third place. We're going to try to get 8 teams in there, but if we could get 10 or 12 teams in there, even better. The $25 league is going to be a keeper league. The free league is just going to be a one and done. You jump in if you want. And if you want to join the fantasy league, the keeper league the year after, then you can do what you can to join in there at that point. But for now, we're going to do, as I said, a keeper league, $25 buy-in, and we're going to do a free league. That being said, what we're going to talk about right now is the top 5 first basemen, in my opinion, for 2019. Number one, the number one first baseman this year is going to be Ryan Hoskins. He's going to be the number one in the league this year. He is playing for the Phillies. He's a first base slash left fielder. He is going to be surrounded by Bryce Harper. He's going to be surrounded by Gene Segura and JT Realmuto, which means that there's no weakness in that lineup. All 3 of those guys are going to hit a ton. They're going to get a ton of runs. It's going to be crazy. Last year was this is his 3rd year. Last year, in his 2nd year, he hit 34 home runs, 96 RBIs. Those numbers are going to go up. He has more consistent players on both of those teams, or both of those spots in front of him. He's probably going to play the 3 or the 4, which means he has a high chance of getting 100 RBIs, 100 runs, and by his output in home runs last year, if he does what he did last year, which 2nd and 3rd year usually does a little bit better than any other year, he hit 34 home runs in his 2nd year. So I'm expecting it to go between 34 and 40. If you have him on your league, then you're off to a good start. If you have a keeper league and you have Hoskins on your keeper league, make sure you do keep him. I know third basemen tend to be a little bit deep in the draft, but I think this guy's going to hit some monster numbers this year, so I suggest that you do keep him and try to draft him earlier on instead of trying to settle for a mid-range first baseman, which is what a lot of people do in the baseball season. Number two, you're going to want to pick up Anthony Rizzo from the Cubs. He has 74 runs last year, 25 home runs, 100 RBIs. He's going to be with the Cubs. The Cubs is a very deep team. He's going to get a lot of people on base in front of him for him to hit a lot of home runs, get a lot of RBIs. Number 3, in my opinion, Atlanta, Freddie Freeman, first baseman, 90 runs, 25 home runs, about 45 doubles, 309 average, which is really high for a first baseman, especially first baseman because they're not very fast, so they don't tend to hit very high for average because they don't get to sneak on those extra hits by being quick. He is going to be surrounded with. He's going to be playing with Donaldson this year, and if Donaldson plays anything better than what he played with the Blue Jays for the last couple of years, which I think he will, I think the Blue Jays might have messed him up a little bit as far as how good of a batter he's going to be. He was played most of the season was injuries. With the before he got shipped out to Cleveland, he was more of an injury-prone guy for the last 2 years, and I think that's going to stop. He's going to play consistent this year. I don't know if I'm pretty sure he's past his prime, but Freddie Freeman's not, so he just has to get on base for Donaldson behind him, or Donaldson's going to have to get on pace for him on top of him in the order. Number 4, Paul Goldschmidt from the Cardinals. He's going to have another big year. He had 95 runs last year. I expect that to be the same. 35 home runs, 85 RBIs, 290 average. I expect that to be around the same for next year or for this year, which means he's going to have a pretty good year. The 5th one that I think, number 5, there was a lot of guys I could have chose from as far as who's number 5. To be honest, if you want to debate that with me, feel free to join on my Instagram. Argue with me about it. Higher Movement Showcase. Comment at the bottom if you don't believe me. But number 5 is going to be Cody Bellinger from the Dodgers. They got rid of Machado for a reason. Machado, they didn't really fight to keep him because they knew they had a lot of hitters, and one of them is Cody Bellinger. This guy's a 260 average. Last year, 25 home runs, 76 RBIs. I expect that even if that stays at a normal pace, I expect that to be more than enough if you pick him up in maybe the mid rounds, maybe a third or fourth, maybe you want him to be top five definitely as far as first basemen go. You don't want to have him out there too long. Someone's gonna get him. He could go up to 80, 85 RBIs this year. That's the top five first basemen to pick up in the Major League Baseball this season. All right, I get it. I told you guys join the WFBL. I told you guys insert your team, and then we're gonna get ready to do a draft. I told you guys what catchers to look for. I've told you guys what first baseman to look for. I know it's natural that I should be saying this is the second base that you're looking for, but no, I'm not gonna do that. And I know you're saying to yourself, oh, if you're not going to do that, then obviously you're going to say shortstop. You're going to tell us who the best shortstops to pick up. No, I'm not going to do that either. I'm going to tell you guys about third base. The reason why I want to tell you about third base is because next time I'm going to tell you guys about second baseman and shortstops at the same time. And then I'm going to tell you guys about outfielders on another time. So today is going to be third baseman. We're going to talk about who the best third basemen are and who we should be looking for to pick up. There's a lot of positions in Major League Baseball to fill. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that you get the best one, at least the best of one of the positions, and maybe even two if you want to be competitive in your league. Third baseman, your best third baseman this season, in my opinion, is going to be Manny Machado. He's going to a new team. He's going to the Padres. He's going from the American League to the National League to deeper into the National League. So he already has half a season of National League experience. That, for some reason, always seems to be an important thing. Where if you're switching from National League to American League or vice versa, you need some time to adapt to what everyone's doing. I don't really understand why. I always think that and batting is hitting and pitching is all the same. But I find that you need at least half a season that I've seen with these players where they need about half a season before they become productive in their new league. That being said, Manny Machado already has half a season of experience in the National League, which tells me that he's probably going to have a really good year this year. He's a lifetime 282 hitter. He already has over 1,000 hits. This year, I'm looking at him to do between 180, 190 hits, maybe 25 to 30 home runs and 100 RBIs. That's what I would expect from him this year. But the one thing about him that I like the most, especially in the keeper league era, is that this guy's only 26 years old, which means he's really just going to hit his stride this season. His best years could possibly be with the Padres. And if you have a chance to pick him up and put him on your team and ride this guy for the next 6 years. 5, 6 years. That's Manny Machado, who I think is going to be the best third baseman of the year. The second best third baseman, in my opinion, is going to be Jose Ramirez from the Cleveland Indians. This guy gets a lot of playing time, 100 runs, 100 RBIs, 30 stolen bases. You cannot really match that in any type of formatted fantasy league. That is production, folks. 30 home runs on your team and still getting 100 RBIs and 100 runs that's game changing. That's a game changing player that you can add onto your team in a position that's usually not very stacked, is in the third base position. This guy's only 25 years old, so again, if you have a keeper league, look at the guy like this who could keep on you, who you can save and keep on your team for the next few years. As I said, 100 runs and 100 RBIs from one player, 30 stolen bases from that same player. That's one of the premier third basemen in the league for sure. In a fantasy league, you're going to want to look at that too. One guy who I want to mention who I think is going to have a comeback year. His last year wasn't too bad, but I mean, by his numbers, it looked like they dropped a little bit. Chris Bryant from the Chicago Cubs should have a bounce back year this year. I think if you see him down there in the eighth or ninth pick and he's still there, pick him up, take a flyer on him. 100 yards. I'm expecting 150 hits this summer. 100 runs this summer. RBIs, not too sure, maybe 75, 80. But at third base, that's good numbers, and I believe him in there for sure. There's other guys out there. Obviously, you want like a Anthony Rendon from the Nationals. You want Justin Turner from the Dodgers is also a really good pickup, and Nolan Arenado from the Rockies. Obviously, if you have a chance to pick one of those guys up, then you're gonna do so because you're still picking a premier player. But in my opinion, if you want the best, I think the best one's gonna be Manny Machado, and or it's going to be Jose Ramirez from the Cleveland Indians. That's what I think. As you guys know, fantasy baseball is coming up. We only have a couple weeks left. I've talked to you guys about first baseman, talked to you about third baseman. Today we're going to talk about the outfield. I'm going to give you guys a tip on the outfield because the outfield is actually very deep this season. A lot of interchangeable parts. A lot of players that play more than one position in the outfield, and if you're lucky, even play a little bit of infield. There are only 3 people, in my opinion, that you need to get in the first or second round that are one positional players. I'm going to give you one left fielder, center fielder, right field. In the right field, New York Yankees, Aaron Judge. In the center field, Mike Trout from the Angels. And in the left field, Chris Davis from the Oakland A's. Those are the only 3 receivers, in my opinion, that need to be on your team in the first couple rounds that are one positional players in the outfield. As I said, left field, Chris Davis. Center field, Mike Trout. Right field, Aaron Judge. What you're looking for, I'm going to give each of you guys. Chris Davis, let me do it like this. Mike Trout could be the number 1 overall pick. You're looking at a 300 hitter. You're looking at 100 RBIs, 100 runs, and you're looking at 35 home runs. That could be a number 1 pick in the whole league. Very, very possible. Okay? You have Aaron Judge, who's also a first, second round pick in the draft. You're looking at almost identical numbers, 100 RBIs, 100 runs. You're looking at 35 home runs. The only difference that sets them apart, which basically means if you have to choose between Mike Trout and Aaron Judge, pick Mike Trout, is because Mike Trout is a 300 hitter and Aaron Judge is a 267 hitter. 267, 270, which is good, but obviously 300 hitter, higher average. You want to win that. You want to win that battle. Chris Davis, I'd take him in the first round too if I had to choose between the 3 of them. The only difference between him is he's a 250 hitter, so he doesn't hit as often as they do. He does tend to strike out a lot, but he does hit more home runs. He does get more RBIs. The problem is his team is not as deep as the Yankees are, for example. So he doesn't get as many runs. He doesn't have as much people behind him that's going to get him across the plate, even though he's going to get about 110 people across the plate this year, including 40 home runs, which means that he's crossing the plate 40 times by himself. If you're going to choose between the 3, you're going to pick Mike Trout first. You're going to pick Aaron Judge second. You're going to pick Chris Davis third. As I said, a lot of outfielders are out there who are going to play multiple positions. So look out for those in the mid rounds. You don't have to rush to grab an outfielder unless it's going to be a one positional player who's going to be a game changer, like, as I said, Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Chris Davis. Okay? Focus on getting those multiple positions. If you're going to get an outfield, there's a few out there you could get from Boston. You could get Mookie Betts, JD Martinez from Boston, or you could go to the Yankees with a Giancarlo Stanton, or as I said, Phillies outfield, new to the outfield, Bryce Harper. One of those guys. If you're gonna grab an outfield early, grab one of those guys. Or obviously the big three is gonna be Mike Trout, Aaron Judge, and Chris Davis. We are going to talk about our second baseman, our shortstops, and we're also going to talk about starting pitchers, relief pitchers. Figure it out, guys. You can't really go wrong. There's a lot of them. Try to get as many strikeout as possible. You know what? If I did a quick one, though, I'd say take Aroldis Chapman, take Boston's closer, and take whoever the Dodgers closer is. But that's at your discretion. We're going to talk about second base. We're going to talk about shortstops, and we're going to talk about starting pitching. Best second baseman to draft. If you got a first pick and you don't know what you want to draft and you see a list of who's out there and you want the best one available, the best second baseman is Jose Altuve from the Astros. He is 28 years old, which means if you're making a keeper league, then he is perfect because he'll be there for the next 5-6 years for sure. You're looking at 180 plus hits. You're looking at 25 home runs and a plus 300 average, making him a very good first round pick. You want that consistency. You want somebody who's always going to put numbers in your fantasy baseball league. If you have a sleeper, maybe a mid-round, you still see him out there and you notice that you filled other positions and you're looking for a second baseman to fill in who might be serviceable, look at Colton Wong. Colton Wong plays for the St. Louis Cardinals. Again, he's 28 years old. He's 50-50 potential, which means he could hit 50 runs, get you 50 RBIs, about 260 average. Not much for home runs, but if you're looking for a guy who's going to keep putting numbers in your fantasy league, then you're looking at Colton Wong. Flop, unfortunately, although I love this guy as a player, Robinson Cano is my flop for the season. He recently did a PED stint, 50-game suspension for PED use. He left the Seattle Mariners and he's gone to the Mets. He's 36 years old, which is going to be pretty late in your career to start doing a post-steroid bid or a post-PED bid, but so be it. I'm looking at about 20 home runs, which I guess is a good season, but you don't want to pick him too early in the draft. You're looking at about 150 hits and maybe 80 RBIs or 80 runs, maybe. That's my second baseman. Now we're going to talk about the shortstops. I wanted to put Manny Machado in here, but honestly, I think he's going to be playing more third. I think who we should be looking at as one of your first picks could possibly be Trey Turner, plays for the Washington Nationals. Young guy, but you're looking at somebody that has 300 average potential. You're looking at possibly 20 home runs, but maybe 100 runs, maybe 70 to 80 RBIs. I expect these numbers to go up. Those are last year's numbers. I expect them to go up, and I'm confident enough to use an early pick to get a guy like Trey Turner. He could be an MVP this year. He's playing for the Nationals. Bryce Harper's moved on, so he's young, but we're looking at it like it's his team. He could put up MVP numbers. My flop is going to be Elvis Edris from the Texas Rangers. I don't think he's going to get back to his 300 average, 100 runs, 90 RBIs that he's done in the past. I could be wrong. That's why we play the game. I think he's going to be the guy that goes down a little bit. His team's not as good as they used to be. I'll say that. Last couple years, he's kind of dropped off a little bit. He did hit a good run 2 years ago. I don't know if he's going to get it back yet, to be honest with you. My sleeper is going to be ex-Blue Jay Troy Tulowitzki. He now plays for the Yankees. If he stays healthy and gets back even close to his form pre-Blue Jay injury, you're looking at another dangerous hitter on another dangerous squad. If he does 280, if he has a 280 average this year with the Yankees, he's going, and this is a guy who's hit 300 on more than one occasion, then that's a dangerous and a deep line, and he could pick up 80 RBIs from the sixth slot on that team. All he has to do is have somebody on base in front of him. I don't know, post injuries are hard to figure out sometimes. To be honest with you, though, I think he's healthy. He hasn't played basically all of last year. I expect him to be healthy. That's my sleeper. Pick him up lower in the draft if you can. I think you're going to benefit from it. And now we're going to talk about the position that you want to know about most. That is your starting pitching. I should do that. That deserves a echo. Let me see if I can get one. Starting pitching. Most important position in fantasy baseball. That's it. That's the most important position. First round picks, you're going to want to pick up two guys that are on my radar for first round picks. Is Max Scherzer from the Washington Nationals, and my other guy is Garrett Cole from the Pittsburgh Pirates. I'm going to talk about Max. Max is a 300 strikeout guy. His career ERA is 3.21, which means they just don't score on him. This guy's sick. I'm expecting 20 years. I'm expecting 20 wins this season from him. I'm expecting another Cy Young look. He's done this for the last few years where he's struck out more than 300 players, which is outrageous. He's done this for about 6 seasons in a row. That is my obvious first round pick if he's there. If he's not there and I'm still going for the first round, if Max Scherzer is not available, then you're going to want to pick up Garrett Cole. I think he's going to be the monster of the season this year. He now plays for the Houston Astros. He's got a year under his belt with the Houston Astros, and I think he's only going to get better this year. I'm expecting 20 wins from him this year. I'm expecting 280 strikeouts this year. I'm also looking at a 2.88 ERA, and I think that it's going to, I think it might even lower this year. Those are my two number one picks. If I'm in the first round and those guys are available, I am not going to pass them up over any position in baseball, fantasy. Okay? My sleepers this year are going to be from the Toronto Blue Jays, Aaron Sanchez. If Aaron Sanchez plays a healthy season, I think he's going to have a way better season than he's had for the last 2 years. He's always had little injury problems, looks like little nagging injury problems. I'm hoping that this year, even though I've heard this all before, is that Aaron Sanchez is over his injuries. It's never really big ones. Last year was a blister that just kept coming up when he was pitching, and it wouldn't allow him to pitch long. I heard that he got surgery to take care of that, and he should be good to go. I'm expecting him to have a season like I expect him to. A lot of strikeouts, a really low ERA. The defense this year looks like they're going to be playing a lot better. The Blue Jays defense, that is. So I'm expecting him to get a lot of extra outs that he used to have to work really hard for in the past. So I'm expecting him to be my sleeper. My other sleeper is going to be the San Diego Padres, Joey LaDucci. He is one of my guys from last year. Left-handed, inning eater. I expect him to get about 170 innings this year. His ERA is 4. I expect that to go down a little bit. He has filthy stuff, and he's not the number one guy on your league, so it's a number one pitcher, but he's a really good pick late in the mid rounds. Those are the guys that are not your Cy Young guys, which means that they don't conflict and go on the same schedule all the time. Most leagues have one starter a game or each day. If you have too many A-plus pitchers, they all end up pitching on the same days, and then it screws your fantasy league up. So look out for that. That's why he's a perfect sleeper, because he's usually the third or fourth pitcher and does pretty much an amazing job. My two flops this year, Marco Estrada from the Oakland Athletics. Used to be a Blue Jay. 35 years old now. He's at the tail end of his career. He's in Oakland, so he's probably going to benefit. If he does get a lot of wins, he's probably going to benefit from an offense with Chris Davis hitting 40 home runs a season. But I don't expect him to strike out too many people. I don't expect his ERA to be much less than 4. He's pretty much a guy who's dropped from a great pitcher to a slightly above average pitcher. I wouldn't draft him. I'd probably stay away from him. Another guy I would stay away from, who is actually kind of a surprise, New York Yankees, James Paxton. He was 11-6 last year. Now he's gone to the Yankees. The good thing is that he doesn't have to face the Yankees lineup. But I think with that much run support and him, he's okay, but I don't really expect him to do too much on the pitching front. I expect his numbers to drop this year. Again, he's another guy who was held in really high regard, but I think at the end of it, he's probably at the tail end now. That's going to be my 2 flops. That's it, guys. I have now given you every single position to baseball fantasy season. I've given you guys all your passing grades. You are now able to go out there, join a fantasy league, draft, listen to what I say, take some of my advice. Don't take some of my advice. But we're going to find a winner. Again, if you're not joining my league, join another league. Just think about what I said. And if you've missed any of the past weeks, don't worry about it. I'm going to put all of my baseball positions on one episode, a special unlockable episode. And you guys are going to be able to look at that, watch the whole thing through. Tell me what you think. I think I nailed it. I think I nailed it. Every single baseball position. Most people's drafts are on a Sunday coming, so good luck to you guys. And thanks for watching, guys. Have a good night, all right?